Good morning, Mr. Grant or Mrs. Groundhog. Oops. Hi. Yeah, I see you. Where's the other one? There. Okay. Hi guys, White Witch 110 here. Hubby went to Canadian Tire to get some buckets. He got two more cotton candy flavors, orange and hot cinnamon. So he went to go get a bucket, or a couple of buckets actually, but he only has the sugar to do one. So I just called to see where he is. He was waiting for the bus. The bus didn't show up. Nothing unusual there. As you may have seen if you took a look at the quick clip that I did today at work, our temperature was, I think I said 105. Tomorrow, I guess at the high point of the afternoon, it's expected to be 107. Yuck. Usually I'd go with hubby to Canadian Tire, but I knew with the heat that it was not a good thing for me to do, so I stayed home. I've been sitting with the fan, cooling down. I took a nice cool shower when I got home, but just crazy. Today, right now, we got a nice breeze, so it's not too bad. It's not stuffy. But I thought I would continue with with my personal experiences. And the next place that I'm going to be telling you about is the Victoria Memorial Museum building. It is known to those living in Ottawa as the Canadian Museum of Nature. The museum is a Gothic Revival Scottish baronial. Construction began in 1905 and was completed in 1912. It was placed on the National Historical Site in 1990. The museum was used as the House of Commons after the 1916 fire in the Parliament buildings. The cost then to build it was $1,250,000. At the time of our visit, the building was under renovations. We peeked in at the progress from a door window of the cordoned off section. Looking up to the grand staircase, I made mention to my husband that a gentleman was standing there staring out at us. At the grand opening, the Haunted Walk of Ottawa offered a special ghost tour of the building. One story that was told among many was of the architect David Ewart, who used to stand at the top of the staircase looking down at the beautiful museum he had designed, and that is the staircase where I had seen him. Let's see, is that puppy? Nope, that's the bus on the other side. Okay, so there is the museum entrance. This part is the new part, and I believe that's actually where the elevator is. Oh, there's some commotion down there. The elevator is somehow attached to this or something. I don't know. Okay, the Bytown Museum is the next one. The Bytown Museum is the oldest remaining stone building in Ottawa and is located at the beginning of the Rideau Canal. It is a federal heritage building that was built in 1827 during the construction of the Rideau Canal, which was from 1826 to 1832. It is a three-story building called the commissariat that was used for storehouse, offices, and treasury under the direction of Lieutenant Colonel John By. My feeling of being followed began as I looked over the school artifacts on display. Making our way around the top floor, the feeling grew. I found myself peering over my shoulder, checking every few moments for a person behind me. In one corner of the displays on this floor, the energy emanated very strongly. Walking over to the glass case to see what was there that was causing this, I observed a Bible that had stopped a bullet, thus saving the life of Private John Charles Denmark in 1902 during fighting in South Africa. The bullet struck his pocket with the Bible from nearly 3,000 yards, the information plaque states. He served in the Canadian Field Artillery and the 2nd Canadian Mounted Rifles. Moving away from the display, the strong energy dissipated, though I still felt I was being followed. Now this here, move that back. This is the Bytown Museum. And this here is the bullet and the Bible. Okay. The National War Museum is another place in which I had an experience. The National War Museum contains 2,500 objects and that's got to be wrong. I'm gonna have to check that. Let's say 500,000 artifacts. The museum originated in 1818. The current building opened in 2005, but was officially established in 1942. The roof is partly covered in grass, and the small windows in the protruding piece are different sizes in Morse code saying, "Least we forget." Walking through the exhibits, I am reminded what brave men and women have given to allow others as well as us our freedom. Weaving around plexiglass display cases, I began to feel unbalanced, dizzy. I was very uncomfortable suddenly and couldn't understand why, but said nothing to my husband as I didn't want to leave. Rounding the corner, the answer to my unease appeared. One of Hitler's vehicles was on display. Once I was past the vehicle, the feeling left me and I was able to enjoy our visit. Now, I could not find a photo or the photo we had of said car, but here is the Canadian War Museum, and this is the windows with the Morse code. And in this part here, you'll find all types of vehicles, and I believe there are even a couple of airplanes in there. It's been a while. Now, one place I did not expect to see anything was in Britannia Conservation Area. This is a spot where we had been many times taking photos of the wildlife, and I had noticed nothing. I'm supposing it is due to the fact that there is so much to see and a popular place for people to walk the trails. This one time, we followed the trail starting in the opposite direction. We sometimes did this. Proceeding through the swamp, I could not shake the feeling of being followed. I turned around and no one was there. We walked along further, and I turned again. This time, I caught an appearance of a white mist. I brought my camera around and took a couple of pictures. Reviewing the photos, unfortunately, I found nothing when downloaded. And there, let me move this out of the way. This is Britannia Conservation. And this is Mud Lake. Here, this is the water treatment plant. And this is where, when the snapping turtles, they lay their eggs in here. So when the babies hatch, if they come into this parking lot, there are cameras. And the people who work in the building will come out, take the little snappers over here into the water. Now this part here is a little pond just outside. And this is the other side, and there's the rapids. And this is a little island. And then you have the Britannia Yacht Club here. And then the beach is over here somewhere. But in this area here is where 3-4 years ago, well, actually some of it you can't see, but it would have been down in here. There was a loud bang heard once that summer. I think it was 4 years ago. Everyone in Ottawa heard it. Now, people had claimed that they had seen lights before the bang, and they're saying that whatever it was went into the water. Some people are saying it was a UFO. Don't know. Now on here, it's hard for me to see, but I believe the little bridge you walk across is here. They've replaced it, and I think the lookout is over here or over here. That's probably how we, let's see. Yeah, there he is. So this is a place where we went very many times, but now, because of the bad ticks, we haven't been there in quite a while. And when this is frozen over in around here, I guess it's thick enough that there are actually people that will come and play hockey there. And this is on a little bit of a hill that you can climb up. So that's the parkway there. But that's a little bit of greenery in the city. So I'm going to put you on pause so that I can see what's what. Hang on. Okay, he also bought us some masks. Very comfortable masks. But right now, any mask is hot. Now, the next... I didn't expect that one to be so quick, but I will tell you a couple of incidents that happened at places where we've worked. And I titled this section, Working Spirits. A place I would normally never expect to find a spirit would be at my workplace. That is why I was surprised when we began having experiences. From the start, the second floor in this 10-story building was uncomfortable for me. I never wanted to be left alone. If for any reason my husband had to leave the second floor, I went with him. It was frustrating because no other floor in the building gave me this feeling. We were cleaning a personnel agency suite on this floor, the usual routine. My husband was ahead of me in one of the offices, and I was at the reception. Having taken the garbage from there, I proceeded to a cubicle directly across from the reception desk. I sat on a chair to reach the garbage can under the desk. My husband peeked his head around the corner of the office and inquired as to whether I had been in the cubicle before. I told him no, I had just sat down. He asked me if I was sure. Not understanding why he was asking such a silly question, I repeated, telling him again, no, then asked why. He said he was sure he'd seen me go in there, and again I assured him I hadn't. Recognition registered within my mind. You've seen your first shadow person. I was so happy, but he wasn't, and wished that it wouldn't have happened and wouldn't again. After this, we began to acknowledge the shadow person each time we entered and exited the suite. One evening afterwards, we left my husband's camera on video mode at the reception desk in the suite on the second floor, looking towards a large window and set cubicle. We began on the 10th floor and worked our way down to the second. Upon entering the suite, we turned off the camera, completed our work, then went home to upload the footage. His daughter came over to watch the video with us. We heard noises that we could debunk and a few that we couldn't. Seeing the camera move side to side, we debunked as a vibration from the buses on the main street below. But when it moved slightly up and then down, we could not debunk it, and were all shocked. April came, and that was the month to steam clean the carpets in the building. In the above-mentioned suite, there was a stain on the carpet that no amount of steam seemed to lift. It was now our turn to try and remove it. Approaching the stain, we were both curious as to whether it would come back. After our steam cleaning was done, the spot never reappeared. I believe it's all down to the spirit. He only wanted someone to acknowledge him. My husband was not an avid believer, but he had an interest in the subject. That is why, to my surprise, he was the first to see the shadow person. My encounter came a month later when I was standing on the west side of the second floor waiting for my hubby to exit a unit he was arming. I looked over to the east side just in time to catch the shadow. It was brown in color, the shape of a man wearing a top hat, his arm and leg out as if he were taking a step. That is all I seen before it strode behind the wall toward the personnel suite. I was happy to have seen him. It confirmed what my husband had seen and made me realize that this is what had made me uncomfortable on this floor. Most of the time, the spirit stayed in the personnel suite, but it visited the adjacent unit a couple of times. When taking photos with my small pocket camera, I caught a rather large orb in the photo that was not in the one before or after, debunking it as dust. In the same building on the 5th floor, we had a double header. The entire floor was rented by a language school to teach government workers French. Rounding a corner to continue down the hall, I noticed something brown and white that appeared to be a woman in early 1900s dress in a classroom. When I turned back to see her, she was gone. Now this could have been the end of it, but it wasn't. Seeing my husband moments later, he described the same thing without my saying a word to him. He wasn't happy. He wasn't as happy as I was to share the sighting. On another evening, I was cleaning the kitchen when my husband came around to the bank of windows that lined the kitchen on one side, with that now familiar look on his face. I anxiously asked what he had seen. He asked if I had just walked down the hall and turned the corner. I told him no, that I had been in the kitchen the past 15 minutes. He told me he had seen someone walk down the hall and disappear around the corner. On 2 separate evenings, I observed a red pair of pumps, then a black pair of shoes in the women's washroom stall. Waiting for the woman to leave, I looked back from cleaning the counter to see that there were no shoes because no physical living person had been in the stall. The basement of this office building is a parking garage where the garbage bins are located. A couple of years into our working there, I began to see the odd shadow ducked behind a pillar in the garage. This began after the second floor experience. My husband later admitted that he too had seen a shadow in the garage, but didn't want to tell me for fear I would ask it to show itself. I remember that. So here is where I'll stop this evening, and I will show you. This is the building in question. Now, when I did the little tour of downtown, I believe I did show you this building. Now I'm trying to remember, because this can be a little deceiving as to what's what. That, I guess, would be the second main floor. See, main floor, I can't remember if it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so 10. So that would be the second floor there. So that's the building in question. So tomorrow night I will pick up on the next contract that we had and what we experienced there. So I hope everyone had a half decent, what is today? Tuesday? I just stop thinking. That's hubby getting the sugar, I guess, all, whatever you call it, all unpacked. I got pigeons going wild. So I hope you had a good Tuesday. Hope you'll have a great evening. And tomorrow is halfway through the week. Yay! Although up here, it's going to be hot and hot and hot. Muggy, muggy, muggy. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Yeah. Want to stay in air conditioning as much as possible. This bottle actually was given to me by a couple from where we're working now. A couple of 2 years ago now, I think. They take trips to the States for racing, for the NASCAR, and they had seen this item, I think it was the year before, and they said if they had seen it again, they were going to get it for me, and they did, and I'm so thankful they did. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Now, hubby and I, the lights that we have, they're like the ones in here in the bottle. Hubby had bought a set, and only part of it worked. I think I may have mentioned that before. The new string of lights showed up today in the mail, and thankfully they work. So I'll likely show you those. I don't think I'll attach it to this one, but I will attach it possibly to tomorrow's. So to all my loyal subscribers, part of my extended family, thank you for coming by again. For anybody that's new, please feel free to check out my other videos. If there's anything there that you take a liking to, consider the thumbs up. Drop me a comment. Always glad to read them, and I will get back to you. Share any of them out that you think family and friends, maybe co-workers, might be interested in. That's always appreciated. Consider subscribing, and if you do subscribe, consider clicking that notification bell so that you know when I upload. So, my friends, my family and friends, until the next time, as always, ciao for now.